Kafka's masterpiece, The Trial, is more than a story. It's a reflection of his inner torment. A man accused without explanation, caught in an endless cycle of guilt and bureaucracy. Kafka believed life itself mirrored this absurdity, a maze with no escape, where questions remain unanswered, and justice is a distant illusion. Imagine living a life where your brilliance is overshadowed by constant pain, rejection, and an unrelenting sense of inadequacy. This is the tragedy of Franz Kafka, a man whose works captured the despair of the human condition, yet whose own life was a story of suffering. This unresolved trauma became the foundation of Kafka's worldview, a world filled with powerlessness, fear, and a desperate yearning for meaning. Franz Kafka was born in 1883 in Prague to a domineering and abusive father, Hermann Kafka. Franz's father was a successful but harsh businessman who belittled and controlled his sensitive son at every turn. Franz once wrote in a letter to his father, "You crushed my self-confidence and replaced it with a boundless sense of guilt." This letter, over 100 pages long, remains one of the most heartbreaking documents of his life. "You asked me once, as if in passing, why I claimed to be afraid of you. As usual, I was unable to find any answer, partly because I really was afraid of you, and partly because an explanation of the grounds for this fear would have meant going into details that I could not bear to speak of in your presence." Kafka's life was marked by profound loneliness. Despite being highly intelligent and articulate, he struggled to form lasting relationships. His fragile health and self-doubt alienated him from friends, lovers, and even himself. He once wrote, "I am constantly trying to communicate something inexpressible to explain something inexplicable." Kafka's writings are haunting mirrors of his inner turmoil. In his novella The Metamorphosis, Gregor Samsa wakes up as a monstrous insect, a grotesque symbol of alienation and worthlessness, echoing Kafka's own feelings of being unloved and unwanted. In The Trial, a man is arrested and prosecuted without knowing why, a chilling allegory of guilt and helplessness. These works weren't just stories, they were Kafka's way of processing his anguish. Kafka's greatest fear, that life is an absurd, inescapable web of guilt and suffering, where answers are forever out of reach. For Kafka, this wasn't just fiction, it was his reality. A reality shaped by pain, rejection, and a constant search for meaning in an indifferent world. Kafka's romantic relationships were as tragic as his life. He fell in love with several women but was plagued by his insecurities and health issues. In Letters to Felice Bauer, he revealed his deep fears of being unworthy of love. He once wrote, "I am dirty, inadequate, and unfit to live among people." Ultimately, his relationships crumbled under the weight of his self-loathing and tuberculosis. In 1917, Kafka was diagnosed with tuberculosis, a disease that would torment him for the rest of his life. Unable to eat or speak in his final days, he suffered in silence, yet his pen never stopped. He left behind a body of work so profound that it defined a genre, Kafkaesque. Franz Kafka's life is a testament to the power of creativity born from pain. His struggles gave rise to stories that continue to resonate with millions, but his tragedy reminds us of the importance of understanding, kindness, and the silent battles many face. Today, Kafka's works are studied across the globe. His writings speak to anyone who's ever felt powerless, alienated, or overwhelmed by the absurdity of life. But behind this literary genius was a man who lived in quiet agony, finding solace only in his words. He died in 1924 at the age of just 40, leaving behind a request that his unpublished works be burned. Thankfully, his friend Max Brod ignored this wish, allowing the world to witness Kafka's genius. If Kafka's story moved you, share this video to keep his legacy alive. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories about the lives behind the legends. Let's explore humanity together.